את השר תפי שחור מצפון ועד תימן אין קרנו אור זרוע לצדיק ולאיש לב שמחה.
Yes, so thank you. Even the ones who normally sit totally in the back row have moved forward because I think we're not so busy. But it's lovely to have you all. If you guys would want to it's just you that they've outvoted you. Do you want to come? I think you need to come onto the stage because otherwise the camera will cover your heads. That would be very Shabbat Shalom, welcome. It's lovely that you can join us either online or in the sanctuary. Yes, would you please rise if you're in the sanctuary? And we begin with lighting the candles. Amen. And if you would just remain standing for a moment, and if you stay up here for a moment, it's our pleasure to be able to give you a special blessing on your birthday. For those who are well versed in the Mishnah, what I'm about to say will give away the birthday that you're celebrating. But you will have now reached the age of being able to give counsel. I'm glad you're happy to know. There's a beautiful passage in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot which assigns to each age a different stage of what you're able to do, what you're able to achieve, and you have now reached the age of being able to give counsel. And so it's our pleasure to give you a special blessing on the occasion of your birthday. So we turn to God, author of life. Our times are in your hand. We thank you for the blessing of life and for everything that enriches our lives. We turn to you now with special gratitude to share in the happiness of Sandra as she marks her special birthday. Be with her now and always. May she be blessed with health and happiness and with the strength to overcome sickness and sorrow. And so we give you a special blessing, the words of the priestly benediction. For those of you who want to follow along, you can find them also in the prayer book, but you probably don't need to. I, on the other hand, always use them because you should never do anything by heart as a rabbi. So on page 590, if you want to see the words of blessing, Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God look kindly upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God reach out to you in tenderness and give you peace. Amen. You may all be seated. And so we are on page 79, and we read together at the bottom of the page. Eternal God, your glory fills the universe. We are never beyond the touch of your hand, Yet we are grateful for special times and places which help us in company with others to reach out to you. Here at this hour, let us feel your nearness. Grant that we may hear your voice speaking in our hearts as, in the stillness of Sabbath peace, we turn to you. And instead of singing the words of the Israeli poet Bialik, we are going to sing Ma Yafeh Hayom. So our choir will lead us in that. The words are very simple. How beautiful is this day. Shabbat Shalom. Page 81. Sing a new song to the Eternal One who has done wonderful things. You have made known your saving power, your righteousness to the nations. You remember your love and faithfulness for Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen your saving power. Shout for joy to the Eternal One, all the earth. Break forth, sing aloud, sing praise. Sing praise with the harp and the sound of melody. Let trumpet blast and horn resound before the sovereign God. Let the sea roar and all that fills it, the world and all who dwell in it. Let the rivers clap hands, let the mountains join in joyful song before the eternal God who comes to rule the earth, to rule the world with justice and the peoples with righteousness. Dodi likhat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha dodi likhat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela. Shakur v'zavur, v'dibur echad yishmiyanu, Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach, Le'olam Vaed.
You may be seated. we read together on page 93. We praise you, eternal one, our God, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the hosts of heaven. We praise you, O God, whose word makes evening fall.
Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, B'shoreinu, U'bekumeinu, B'asiyah, B'chukecha, B'nizmach, B'divrei Toratecha, U'b'mitzvotecha, Be'olam ha'ed, Yihei b'aleinu, Be'oreh yameinu, B'hem negei, Yomam v'layla, Yom v'layla. Ve'ahavatzecha, Al tasur mimenu, Al tasur mimenu, Le'olam.
Would you please rise? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם.
You may be seated. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, Eternal One, are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule. Then full of joy, we sang together. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. We pause for a short moment before the words of the Hashkivenu prayer to think of all those who are at this time in greatest need of God's sheltering peace. In particular, we think of all the hostages still held in Gaza and a name and place of all of them, Karina Ariev, linked to the Reform community Kol HaNeshama in Jerusalem. And we also think of all those serving in the Israeli army and pray for a refuah shlema for all those who have been injured in body and soul since October the 7th. We make special mention here of our member Eddie Hirsch, who came to Israel as a lone soldier and is currently recovering from injuries he sustained in Gaza. Elna Refanala, as Moses prayed for his sister Miriam, we ask for God's healing power for them. Amen. And so we read together on page 96. Grant, eternal God, that we may lie down in peace, and let us rise up to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your wise counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from sickness and war, from famine and distress, and keep us from wrongdoing. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are our guardian and deliverer, a gracious and merciful God. Guard our going out and our coming in, that now and always we may have life and peace. We praise you, O God. May your sheltering peace descend on us and all who dwell on earth. Would you please rise?
Adonai, Shabbat tiftach, ufi agite hivatecha. Adonai, Shabbat tiftach, ufi agite hivatecha. Eternal God, open up my lips, that my mouth shall declare your praise.
Eternal
God, open up my lips, that my mouth shall declare your praise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Koneh Hakol, ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot ve'Imahot, u'Mevi Geula livnei v'neihem, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לנו אלוה מבלעדיך, ברוך אתה אדוני Ha'el HaKadosh. May be seated.
Israel, et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת, לדורות הברית עולם. ביני ובני ישראל, עוד תהיה עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
On page 100, we continue together. Our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Eternal One, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Retzeh Adonai Eloheinu b'amcha Yisrael, utfilatam be'ahava tikabel, utihi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha b'yira na'avot. Modim anachnu lach, she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei avotenu le'olam va'ed. Tzur chayenu, magen yishenu, ata hu ledor vador. Nodeh lecha u'nesaper tehilatecha, al chayenu hamesurim biyadecha, v'al nishmotenu hapkudot lach, v'al nisecha shebechol yom imanu, v'al niflotecha v'tovotecha shebechol et erev v'avoka v'tzohorayim. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, u'lecha na'eh lehodot. We read together. Supreme source of peace, grant true and lasting peace to your people Israel, for it is good in your sight that your people Israel and all peoples may be blessed at all times with your gift of peace. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. We'll take a few moments for silent prayer. We read this week in our Torah portion, Parashat Yitro, about how after the Israelites escaped from Egypt and were fleeing through the wilderness, they brought all of their problems to their leader Moses. And I think I can somehow imagine what that might have felt like, because unfortunately sickness, not terrible sickness, don't worry, but illness has struck the shul and everyone else is sick. So all the problems came and landed on my desk today. But what happens in Parashat Yitro is Moses is overwhelmed, and he is so overwhelmed he doesn't even know where to look anymore. But lucky for him, his father-in-law is around. His father-in-law, in English we call him Jethro, comes to visit Moses and sees just how close to collapse Moses really is. And he explains to Moses that he has to rely also on other people, that he has to share the load, because not only will that make society run better and smoother, but it will also mean that Moses will not be worn out completely. Jethro is an interesting character because unlike what most would assume, seeing he's Moses' father-in-law, Jethro is not Jewish. He's not an Israelite. He is in fact a Midianite priest, who pledges allegiance to our God, to the one God, and to Moses and his family. And there's an interesting part at the beginning of the Torah portion where Jethro moves from outsider to insider, and maybe a little bit back to outsider. And so Jethro has always been important in our tradition, but not just in our tradition. In fact, the tradition probably that holds Jethro most important to them in their religious tradition are the Druze. In the Druze religion, Jethro is regarded as a prophet. And the Druze religion holds that Jethro is buried somewhere in Nebi Shu'eb. It's a valley between Tiberias by Mount Arbel. It's a beautiful area for you if you want to hike there. And there is actually a Druze tradition of pilgrimage to the grave of Jethro. Why am I talking about the Druze religion? There isn't that much known about the Druze religion because the Druze religion defines itself as being a secretive religion. It's a non-proselytizing religion. Druze can only marry Druze people, and there's no conversion to the Druze religion and no intermarriage. And only those who are considered religious have access to the holy text. So we don't know very much about the Druze religion. So why am I nonetheless talking about the Druze religion right now for this parasha? Well, it is because of the connection to Jethro that for the last few years, the World Jewish Congress, was one of the organization, has decided that this week should be the Global Week of Gratitude to the Druze people. Shukran Druze, so shukran in Arabic, thank you, as a way of acknowledging the contribution that the Druze people play in the state of Israel, because the Druze play a unique role in that they all serve in the army, and in fact they serve many in very high-ranking roles, and they pay a very heavy price also, of course, for their service, with a number of Druze already killed in this latest war, but also in previous campaigns. And what I think for me struck me the most, I had the privilege, actually together with Tammy, Aaron's wife, a few weeks ago in December, to visit one of the bereaved Druze families, one of the officers who was killed in the first few days of the war. And what was fascinating was to hear the family speak. They spoke in beautiful Hebrew, which we had the privilege of having a very good translator to translate for us. But they spoke about how much they regard themselves as part of Am Yisrael, the people of Israel. And it was really interesting to me to hear those words said by the Druze, by the widow of this Druze officer, because for me, I had always thought of Am Yisrael, we think of it as the Jewish people. But for the Druze, they consider themselves part of this people of Israel, of being part of it. So as we read Parashat Yitro, we express our gratitude for the role that the Druze people play, and they really are an important part of Israeli society, and yet they do face still many disadvantages. Many of the Druze villages, unfortunately, don't have that. A lot of the Druze live in the north. A lot of them don't have sufficient public shelters, for instance. There are lots of problems in terms of municipal funding and so on. Nonetheless, they are really a people that feels deeply intertwined with the Jewish people in the state of Israel. And as we read about their prophet Jethro, our Moses' father-in-law, this week in our Torah portion, we express our gratitude to them. And so tomorrow we are going to shift our focus from Jethro and the Druze people to a different aspect of history, to a connection to our Torah scrolls. Many of you will be familiar with the story of our text Torah scrolls. For those of you who are not familiar, make sure you don't miss the service tomorrow, and make sure you hear Rabbi Andrew's wonderful sermon, where I had the privilege of having a preview because unfortunately he is not well enough to be able to do it live, so he has pre-recorded it. But do come tomorrow to celebrate with us the 60th anniversary of the scrolls coming to the UK, coming to London, and hear the miraculous story of our Czech scrolls tomorrow. But before we think about tomorrow, we're going to conclude our service this evening and return to our concluding prayers. If you could turn to page 520, with Aleinu. Once you've found your page, please rise. And we read together. Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו.
אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, השכינה תזוג ברובעי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. As we worship before you, O God, we think of those who once shared with us the joys and burdens of life, and who are no longer in our midst. The sorrow of bereavement is softened by the bond of love which continues to unite us with our dear ones, and by our cherished memories of them, which we will always carry in our hearts. May all that was good in their lives remain with us as an influence for good. O God, grant consolation to those who are in sorrow, and light to those in darkness. Teach us at all times to put our trust in you and to praise your name. On this Shabbat, we think of all those whose yahrzeit falls at this time. Aaron Newman, the father of Graham, father-in-law of Jacqueline. Bertha Mendoza, the mother of Lynn Sharp. Bobby Marks, a friend of the Ark Synagogue. David Gatsky, husband of Maureen. Estelle Zeffman, the mother of David. Ingrid Kupperman, the daughter of Danielle Francis, stepdaughter of Mel, sister of Nikki, stepsister of Leo and Yvette, Deborah and Lisa. Michael Brest, the father of Peter, Stephen, and Judy Fox. Myrna Berman, the mother of Lorraine Turek and Paul Berman. Queenie Wolfson, the mother of Jeannie Perry. Rodney Lee, father of Mark. Rose Jordan, the mother of Peter. Shirley Mendel, sister-in-law of Selwyn. Hannah Greenfield, the wife of Murray, one of the survivors of Colleen, one of our tourist towns, the first to tell its story. Audrey Herman, mother of Nadia Geller. Ian Herman, brother of Nadia Geller. Arthur William Ryder, the father of Rachel Andrews. Jack Forbes, the brother of David. Rosalind Cashman, the sister of Sharon Phillips and Jackie Narden, aunt of Mark and Ellie, Michael and Ross. And we are saddened by the recent deaths of Ralph Dollo, father-in-law of Alison Dollo, as well as Margaret Heilbooth, mother of Graham, Carol, and Robert. Zichronam livracha, may their memory be a blessing as we recite together the words of Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirotei v'yamlich malchotei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, b'gala v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדה ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם, ואמרו Amen. May great peace descend from heaven, and abundant life be granted to us, to all Israel, to all those who mourn. And let us say Amen. Please be seated. Page 528. As I said, tomorrow we will be talking more about our Czech heritage and especially the connection to our first, to one of our Torah scrolls, the Colleen scrolls. In case you're not here tomorrow, make sure to pick up a copy of Years of Sorrow and Hardship, which is a special publication that remembers the fate of the Colleen Jews during the Holocaust. Oh, my head is chopped off in the video. The camera operator is going a bit rogue today. I think he was zooming in on the book. If you're in the sanctuary here, you can pick up a free copy. We have copies available for free. If you're not in the sanctuary, if you're joining us from afar, we can probably organize sending you a copy as well. So do feel free to pick up a free copy of this beautiful book, and we will welcome, I believe, two of the authors tomorrow at our service. They've just arrived in the UK, coming especially for this special anniversary. So do make sure to pick up a copy. But for now, we're going to sing Ein Kelohenu on page 528. sanctuary, you will be wondering why I'm giggling so much. But Amira, who is here in the sanctuary with us, got very excited to see her friends coming in for Zoom Kiddush. She was jumping up and down with joy. So I hope that all those of you who've joined us for Kiddush know how much your presence is felt in the sanctuary with great joy and jubilation, in fact. So we're going to conclude before we say goodbye to our live stream with just one final blessing. It's a blessing from the Babylonian Talmud that was traditionally recited as people were entering the temple premises. As they were walking through the temple and then leaving again, having fulfilled the mitzvah of pilgrimage. And these are the words that were traditionally recited. Mi sheshiken et shmo b'bayit hazeh, hu yashkin b'neichem, ahava v'achava, v'shalom v're'ut, and to that we shall add briut. May the one whose presence dwells in this house cause love and harmony, peace and friendship, and of course health to dwell among us. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Ayos le'amoyiten,